Hi, this is Dr. Mercola, and we're delighted to have with us today Houston, who is one of the technical experts for a leading company in the water filtration industry. And the reason he's here today because there's so much confusion about water. And why is that so important? Well, you know, we probably know that the #1 source of calories in the United States is high fructose corn syrup, primarily from soda. And the average person in this country drinks a gallon of soda a week, which is just shocking, but really one of the primary reasons why we have such an epidemic of chronic degenerative diseases in this country. So the practical strategy, of course, is to eliminate that soda and replace it with a healthy fluid. One of the healthiest fluids, of course, is water, and probably the most economical over the long term. So most people who have studied health realize this and understand it, and it's certainly something I've known for a long time, but have always been reluctant to offer a water filter on our site because there's so much confusion in this area, and my fear was that we would provide a product that somehow would be later identified as being less than optimal, and then it wouldn't serve you as well. So we were really fortunate earlier this year at the Health Expo West in LA, which is the largest health exposition in the United States, and we found Houston there, and we were really delighted. Houston's company has won about 10 Best Buys from Consumer Digest and Consumer Reports, and they really provide some outstanding products, and really these objective third-party independent consumer magazines have awarded them, and it really is a good indication that they're providing quality products. And Houston doesn't have any formal medical training, but he really is a phenomenal technical expert in this area. So as we discuss some of these topics, I might interject in dialogue and modify some of his answers so it's consistent with some of the things that I've said previously on the site, and we're providing you with a very consistent information. So welcome, Houston.
Thank you, Dr. McCall.
The other big one that's come on the scene lately are these alkalized waters, or the ionizers.
Right.
And we've actually surveyed our readers and asked for questions, and this was a very frequent question that people had. Let me give you my understanding of them. I think first of all, I don't doubt that some people notice improvements from them. There's no question.
That's probably from drinking more water.
Well, it could be a lot of reasons, but I wouldn't dispute the stories, the many anecdotal stories that people say that they've gotten incredible results. But let me tell you, I do not recommend water, alkalized or water or ionizers for a number of reasons. One of the primary ones is that most all of them are multi-level marketing systems, and they are very expensive. They're well over $1,000, and there's a strong incentive to sell those that are unrelated to the quality of the water that's being produced.
Correct.
But even more importantly, from the quality of the water, I don't think that we were designed to drink alkaline water, at least all the time. I mean, my understanding, some of the healthiest waters may be even acidic, at least from some of these mountain springs and such. So I think the central guiding natural process that I try to follow is that I don't think you're going to find naturally occurring alkaline waters. I mean, just doesn't occur at high levels.
Not at a level of 10 or 12 or 13 on the pH
absolutely
scale.
not. So when you try to play with natural processes and think that academically, intellectually, you're superior, what's happened over thousands of years, that you're going to produce a better, sometimes you can, but when you do that, you have to be really careful, and especially with something foundational like water. So I like to keep it as simple and basic and as close to we find in the natural environment as possible.
I mean, millions of years of evolution can't be all that wrong.
Yeah, well, there's a number of people who would dispute the millions of years, but certainly we've had ancestors for a long time.
Right.
And that has produced an environment that causes us to thrive into health. And
this is my take. We're mineral water machines.
Yeah.
All the water you can find on the planet has minerals in it. So I absolutely believe that we should all be, from our dogs and cats and fish to us, that all of our water should have minerals in it.
well, if it doesn't, it's a problem.
Right.
This is incontrovertible, absolute, documented fact that if you are having demineralized water, you invariably suffer some health consequences as a result of that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now, the the argument of alkaline versus acidic water, which is best, I've been and seen both sides of the fence. So I personally, I feel that if you're close to 7, you can't be all that wrong. I personally believe that alkaline water is better for you.
So maybe 6 to 8, somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
When you start going beyond that,
6.5 to 7.5.
7.5, 7. So even more defined.
Right.
It's probably a healthier range to shoot for.
If you go to the bottom of the spectrum and take some hydrochloric acid, it'll eat through your pants. If you go to the other end of the spectrum and get some lye, it'll eat through your pants.
Right.
So my feeling is the closer to the middle you are, the better we are for what our body's processes are designed to operate on. The reason why I personally, and this is just my personal opinion, feel that alkaline water is optimal is because by definition you can't have free radicals in an alkaline environment. There's no loose hydrogen atoms flying around looking for electrons.
That's a good point.
So I feel that if you want to minimize the possibility of having free radicals in your body, keep your body alkaline and your body will stay in balance that way. Now again, I don't have the medical background you do at all. I just know water.
Yeah.
So my feeling is I always like a pH above 7. The ionizers, they give you that range of 9 to 13 and 4 to 2 on the low side. And it's not a natural process. They're electrocuting the water, and they're creating 2 streams. So you have 50% wasted water because you have an alkaline stream and an acidic stream that goes down the drain. They do make outrageous claims for health. Those are short-lived. Companies just can't do that.
Yeah.
I will tell you that many of the major ionizer companies in the U.S. sell my products as pre-treatment devices. They can't use reverse osmosis, right, because the process doesn't work correctly for ionizing when there's no minerals present. So they use a selective filtration device like the technology that we use, so that they can actually take out some contaminants, because those ionizers don't remove anything
Yeah, that's
from
an
the water.
important point to consider. Very important point. Thank you for mentioning it. These ionizers are not water filters.
No, they're not treatment
They're
devices.
really an additional treatment modality on top of some underlying principle,
Correct.
which is either the carbon filtration, a distiller, or reverse osmosis, because those are the only 3 major technologies that are going to clean your water up.
Right, and none of, with all the claims that they make, none of them are certified. They all show their...
And by certification, there's a number of different certifications that you can have.
Right.
And we'll probably talk about it. But maybe we talk about it now, the NSF and ANSI.
ANSI, UL,
Yeah.
PACE, WQA. Back in the old days, when multi-level marketing companies were the primary vehicle for water filtration sales, you had to take the guy's word for it, what his product did. You had no way to prove it.
When, just for curiosity, when are the old days?
Starting in the late 70s, early
Okay.
80s. Back in the days of NSA, Equinox International,
Okay.
they were selling $500 water products that cost about $18 to manufacture. No testing to go with them until NSF came around and started to produce standards, so that now water treatment devices can be tested and compared to each other like apples, instead of a salesperson walking into your house doing a scary presentation and telling you what the filter
And I'm not a
does.
big fan of the government, obviously, so this is not a government certification. This
No.
is a private company that does the certification, and really, I think really one of the best and most honest ways to do that, because they're relatively objective and they really aren't influenced by or manipulated by corporations. They are kind of pricey too.
Oh, it's a very expensive
Yeah,
process.
it's a very expensive process to go through, and it does unfortunately eliminate some of the smaller competitors because they can't afford the cost of testing and certification.
It's like certified organic.
Yeah.
The government doesn't care, but if you have a product and you want to prove to consumers like me that it's organic, one way you do it is you go to a third-party independent laboratory like NSF, and you pay them, they test your product. There is a little bit of a conflict of interest that you're paying them to test your product, so keep that in mind. There is an incentive to keep your business, to have you come back and certify more, but their brand is way too important for them to be...
It's potentially room for, I guess, corruption, but it's
highly
essential-
unlikely.
Really highly unlikely.
So you
That's
go...
nothing compared to the
Right.
government.
It's no skin off their back if you fail.
Right.
When you give NSF your money for the test, you do it in advance, and if you fail, you fail. They're going to let you know.
Would you consider NSF one to be one of the better, more stringent and authoritative certifications?
Well, so the ANSI and NSF, they actually write the standards. So it's if you want to do a high jump test at high school, you're going to have everybody run down the same deal and jump over the same bar. You don't want my high jump bar saying 7'1" where yours actually says 7'3" for the same height. So basically, they set the bar at the same height for everyone. We all test with the same influent challenges, like for lead certification. The legal limit in the United States is 15 parts per billion. The test standard requires that you test at 150 parts per billion, plus or minus 10%. With an acidic and an alkaline pH to make sure your product performs in both types of water conditions. And so in order to ensure that everybody's testing the same way, we all go through somebody that tests to NSF standards. And the accredited labs in the U.S. are Pace Industries, or Pace Analytical, excuse me, the Water Quality Association, which I think is the least meaningful of all the certification bodies. Then you've got NSF, who actually wrote the standards in assistance with ANSI, and then you've got Underwriters Laboratories. Now, something these ionizer people do is lean on their certifications from CE, which is a European certification, and the very valuable mark. It's just as difficult to get as NSF. Or they'll lean on their UL mark. What they're not telling you is those certifications are electrical components that we're not going to burn your house down. Those have nothing to do with water quality. So when you see those...
Important distinction in an area that creative marketers can give you the impression that it's certified, and it is truly certified. It's not illegal, but it's unethical and it's deceptive.
Correct.
Because they're leading you to believe that it was tested and certified for the water when it was tested for another component.
Right, and all the outlandish medical claims that they make. I get emails from these people all the time, and I'm telling you, this is a short-lived industry.
We've kind of gone on a tangent to certifications, but are we still talking about the alkaline water system?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a short-lived industry, in my opinion.